Item 1, call to order. I now call to order the Marin Wildfire Executive Committee regular meeting of February 5th, 2026. Roll call.
Certainly, beginning with Director Kurtz,
Present.
Director Goins,
Present.
Director Kohler,
Here.
and Chair Hilliard.
Here.
Just for the minute's sake, Director Rodoni is not currently with us yet, but he may be arriving just shortly. But we do have a quorum and we can proceed.
Thank you. Referring to item 4, open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Executive Committee at this time on matters on the agenda, not on the agenda, that are within the jurisdiction of the committee. Please be advised that pursuant to Government Section Code 54954.2, the committee is not permitted to discuss or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting and mute your microphone when not reporting out. Okay, item 5, closed session. Open time for public expression on the closed session items.
We do need to go to comment for the current open session before we move into closed session. However, I do not see any hands on the virtual environment, nor are there any comments in the room.
Thank you. Okay, hearing no comments, now we will move to, all right. Wasn't that what I was just going to say? I will take, okay, thank you. I'll now take public comments on the 2 closed session items listed on the agenda.
And there are no hands at this time.
Okay. Seeing no comments, we will now adjourn to a closed session, requesting that all people in the room who are not members of the committee or legal counsel or part of this group, please excuse themselves. We're returning back to regular session. Um, We adjourned the closed session, and the committee held a closed session on 2 items on the agenda and did not take any reportable action on either of those items. And now we're moving to item number 6 on the agenda, Executive Officer's Report. This is an oral report. Mark Brown is away. Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock will present the Executive Officer's Report. Ann?
Great, thank you. And mine will be brief. Just share my screen. So we have 2 committees who are hard at work, the ATC and the Operations Committee. The ATC is a working group now, a non-Brown Act committee, internal working group with staff, and those staff members are hard at work right now thinking through the next work plan. So we started meeting in December, and the operations committee started meeting in December. And one of the first big tasks is trying to figure out what the JPA-wide proposals will be, and that helps set the core budget for the remainder of the kind of planning process. So internally with Marin Wildfire and our contractors, we've been working really hard to get those kind of draft numbers together earlier than even last year and the year before, so we can help the member agency staff with their budgeting. So we'll be meeting later today with the ATC and kind of go through where we are in that process and what we're looking at potentially for next fiscal year. So that's really exciting to get that underway. We've been working with the land management agencies to make sure that their needs are met in terms of any coordination with with vegetation management activities on their lands. So we've already been pretty busy with work plan development. The next step will be diving into the zone-specific projects once we've had some time to think through the JPA-wide proposals. And now that we have all of these tools, all of this data, these maps, these fire modeling efforts, and the CWPP update underway, we've got a lot of really great science-based tools to help prioritize areas for work. So that's really exciting. We're able to dive into those maps and take a look at what the data is telling us so far, and we're still seeking input from ATC members and other stakeholders on the CWPP and those draft results and the draft maps. Very exciting there. We're thinking that the public outreach for the CWPP will take place later in the season, maybe May, because that's Wildfire Awareness Month. And we think that might coincide well with kind of public thinking past the rainy season and thinking about the fire season. And we might get more public involvement if we reach out during that time. With that said, Fire Safe Marin has been a great partner getting the word out on the CWPP and releasing newsletter items on that. So we've got all of these 2 kind of parallel processes going on at the same time, work plan development and the CWPP update, but they're really complementing each other because we can use the tools in the CWPP to inform the work plan. That all culminates in board action in May. So the date currently for board action would be May 21st. And so we'll be doing a lot of work at the level of the ATC and ops before then to make sure we have a package ready to go. So that's, the majority of where my time is going at the moment. We've got a lot of other great work going on, including work in coastal Marin because we've been coordinating with the county and with the state on coastal act compliance. We've got a lot of project planning going on, working with member agencies to think through next year's work areas and make sure we have all the surveys in place and the biologists out there and scheduled to support that work as well. So lots going on with staff and with member agencies, and happy to take questions.
Okay, I'm opening up the executive committee members. Any comments or questions?
I have a question.
This may be actually for Bruce and Dennis. I'm not quite sure. But in terms of the schedule, so February 13th, next week, So the JPA wide proposals,
Mhm,
right?
correct.
But April 2nd are the zone specific proposals.
Right.
And has it ever shifted, or was there a conscious decision in terms of doing the JPA wide proposals first and then doing the zone versus the other way?
Yeah, so in terms of the core budget, so 60% of those Measure C funds goes towards the core budget. And then that core budget, you take 10% of that to allocate towards administrative costs. And then that remaining number is used to fund the JPA-wide proposals. So then getting that number earlier rather than later and subtracting that out, then those remaining core funds are divvied up according to population and et cetera, that math equation to each of the zones. And then the zones really have a more solid number for budgeting for core projects. With that said, it's all draft for now. We don't have the CPI yet until mid-March because we use February to February data for that. So, and we're making assumptions about what that might look like. The member agencies specifically asked for earlier and earlier kind of engagement on decisions on the JPA wide. So that's why we're really pushing for February and March. We'll be discussing them in both months. So some of the proposals we'll discuss this month, and that gives us plenty of time to dig into additional proposals in early March. And then they'll be finalizing their proposals for the core, especially projects with the remaining core dollars. So it's just a matter of math, trying to do the math in sequence. So there's more certainty moving forward.
Okay. I guess I not for this cycle, right? The cycle's already on its way, but in terms of, it'd be curious to think about if that was switched and how would that play out? Like, would there be advantages for the zone proposals to come forward first and then look at the core proposals? If that would make sense, I don't know, but I'm just wondering, it's very late in the game, I think, for, right, in April, where then it comes to the board in May for the zones versus the core. And I don't know if there'd be advantages or disadvantages, but I just think it's just in terms of timing, or do these work in parallel? I mean, it sounds like they're almost working in parallel, but I'm not sure in practicality if that's really what happens.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
I think that's an interesting question, Rachel. Do we talk about zone proposals or JPA-wide proposals first? And if I understand zone proposals, these are Nevada's a zone, San Rafael's a zone, and then we have Southern Marin, and we have 3 other zones which are multiple members that come together to identify work that they see, critical and timely and strategic, I guess. It almost, from my perspective, it seems to make more sense to look at zone proposals first, to look at what members are interested in achieving on the ground, and then subsequently take a look at JPA-wide proposals as a consideration for how much is really available for beyond what the zones are requesting. That makes sense
Well,
to
it may
you?
be that we do it all at the same
Is that,
time.
I think so. I think so. I don't know enough about,
neither.
right, but I just wanted to put it out there from a strategic level in terms of us thinking about the different zones, how the funding is allocated, because essentially on the street language, I'd say, is JPA wide. We look at JPA wide, and it's worked, right? We've looked at JPA wide proposals, figure out, then the remaining amount goes to the zones. And that's a strategic decision of us, of the board, right? Saying we want to focus on what's going to work across all, and then have the individual zones decide. And what I'm questioning if there is a way to say, we want the information from the zones and those needs to come first in terms of the conversation, and then the allocation, and then the core.
And it would be It would be a potential allocation, not the allocation, because you can't make a decision for zone-wide projects and then jump to MWPA-wide projects without, I mean, there's going to have to be a balance, is what I'm saying. I don't, anyway, just, this is a procedural question. And thanks for
I
raising
have a
it. It's
question
always
also.
been my, through the first few years, we've had these discussions. What is the process and what do we ask members to bring to the table as far as their needs? And we've had this discussion, well, their JPA-wide project, we're going to take some money off. My contention is it slow down, let's hear from the members and let's see what they're thinking. Then let's hear from the JPA-wide and then try to balance them somehow through the process. That makes sense to me procedurally.
And I
Yeah,
know we can't talk about all the detail here, but it was the schedule and the calendar that I was
Mhm.
sure it just triggered for me in terms of the timing and the scheduling. And I know Catherine also wanted to say.
I would like to ask a question. Okay. From the perspective of the zones, the people who are proposing local projects, do they need to have, it seems to me they need to have an idea of what they have to work with in order to do their requests? Is that your experience?
That's the thinking. So the request from member agencies has been to get a sense for JPA-wide needs, at least in a draft form, earlier rather than later, so that we get a sense for, staffing, GIS, CWPP update, those kind of critical functions, and then do the math from there. So that was the request. But the reality is that once you have these draft JPA-wide proposals, everything is in draft form as we work through the budget and try to balance that. So, right. And the operations committee generally has an ad hoc subcommittee that really dives deep into all those proposals, cut a little bit here, add a little bit there. How do we balance the local proposals versus the JPA-wide, and kind of hashes through those details. So all the proposals remain draft through the spring and often through April until we're trying to put pencils down in time for operations committee to make recommendations to the board. So it's always a balance. We try to keep the JPA-wide budget from growing. And this year has been great because we've been able to cut back on some of those proposals that are no longer going to be funded through JPA-wide. For example, all of the data and modeling kind of efforts, we've been able to now incorporate those into the CWPP. So we're dropping that item off the list altogether and just focusing on the CWPP, incorporating all of the great tools we have into that, and then maintaining that as we committed to do on an annual basis. So, so we're trading off, we're cutting things back in JPA wide and transferring efforts as we grow and change and have a CWPP that we're going to want to keep up to date. And we're also, one other potential change is in terms of environmental compliance, making sure we have budget to support existing approved projects. So all of the, exempt core projects, we want to make sure we have budget for all those surveys that continually need to be done. And then putting it on the member agencies. If you have a new project, then that project budget would need to provide the funding for a new CEQA document, say.
I think it makes sense the way you've described it, and I think frankly, starting JPI wide makes sense to me because the zones are looking siloed, and I think you want to look big picture and, then get the individuals. And I think the way you've described it, which is the way sort of I understood it, is nothing is set in stone. So you're constantly tweaking and changing. So makes sense to do it the way you've been doing it for me, but I'm new to this group.
Great.
Any more discussion? I mean, would you like to respond to that, Supervisor?
Yeah, I was just going to comment. I think I'm correct that most of the people in the ops committee making these decisions on the core are the same people that are making a lot of the zone decisions, I think.
Mhm.
And they're probably already thinking about those zone requirements and programs right now. And so even though the schedule shows them a little later, it's just more of organizational thing that I think that it's kind of the same people talking about this, both programs. So
Yes.
they're well aware of the zone requirements coming up, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
in my take anyway.
I just have one observation from last year that, there were some complications and there were some difficult conversations around the final budget and specifically around um, one of the JPA-wide projects. Is it possible for us to get a draft a month ahead as far as what's coming, what's new, what's bigger, what's smaller, and why, so that we as a board don't get, here's the budget, approve it. We get a little bit more time to think it through. I hope
Yes.
you understand what I'm saying.
That came up during the May board meeting last year, that there was so much content, it was really too much for one meeting. And so we've been talking about including a portion of that presentation in April so that we have more time, especially the JPA wide, assuming we're there, so that we have more time.
Okay,
for
I didn't
discussion and input.
see all the timeline. If it was there, I missed it. I apologize, but if it's not there, it needs to be there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion or questions for Anne? Hearing none, I'll ask for public comment on this item. Is there anyone wishing to make a comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the committee if there's any more discussion. If not, this is not an action item, so we can move on. All right, we're moving on. Item 7, consent calendar. The opportunity for public comment on the consent calendar items will occur prior to the committee's discussion of the consent calendar. The committee may approve the entire consent calendar in one action, and the alternative items on the consent calendar may be removed by any committee or staff member for separate discussion and a vote. There's only one item on the consent calendar, and that's the minutes of the January 8th, 2026 Executive Committee meeting. So if we have, does anyone wish to change the consent calendar? Okay. Then I think we can take a vote on this in one action. Is there any public comment on the consent calendar?
There are no hands at this time. And then just prior to the vote, I did want to state for the minutes that although Director Rodoni was not here when we first opened the meeting, he did join us for the closed session. So he will be participating in the consent calendar vote.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to move the consent.
Moved by Director Kurtz,
I'll second.
second by Director Kohler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, yes. Motion pass. Item 8, Board of Directors Agenda Review. 8A, Draft Agenda, which you should have in a copy of, and this is for the upcoming February 19th meeting. Anne, will you present the item?
It's a very brief agenda that includes staff reports, including finance, and an update on the work plan implementation. Action items include approval of the fiscal year 24-25 annual report. And we have a couple of committee reports, Operations Committee and Fire Safe Marin, as well as minutes listed under informational items. Short agenda.
Thank you.
I've got a question.
Director Kohler.
So it is a very short agenda, and Catherine and I discussed this briefly. You were there with Mark yesterday about, it's going to be a really long meeting to start at 1. And since we have such a short agenda for the board meeting, would it be possible to start the strategic session at 2? And maybe start the board meeting a little later? I mean, because it's just, that's a lot to ask people to come at one and, if our board meeting is so short. I know Mark seemed pretty convinced that that's the way he wanted to do it.
Well, that's something we can discuss with Jean and think through what works best.
I think it depends on the content of what we're doing in the strategic planning and how long it takes us to get through it I agree with you, if we can make it, consolidated as possible. But on the other hand, we also want to hear from everybody. So, yeah, so we'll leave it to you.
Yeah, maybe we can discuss that under 8B.
I'm
Okay?
not suggesting that you short circuit the strategic planning. I'm just saying because the board meeting is very thin, do we really want people to come at 1 if we started the strategic planning and ended at, we kind of created a hybrid. So you start from 2 to 4 on the strategic planning and then do the board meeting. The regular board meeting, because there's very little on it.
Okay, any other comments? All right, I lost my place here. Let's see. Okay, now, I think the committee has had a chance to talk about this, and I will now take public comment on this item. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to say anything?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, I will now bring this back to the committee for discussion and provide feedback to staff. I think you've received that, and no motion is required here, so we're moving on to discussion of draft proposed agenda for the strategic planning sessions. And Jean Bonander, will you please lead us in this?
Thank you, Ann, and thank you, board members, executive committee members. At Mark's suggestion, I put this potential summary together for you, and which raises more questions than provides you with answers. And before we even get started in this, I have a logistical dilemma. I'm working on another project for MWPA, and I have an interview scheduled at noon, which I have already rescheduled once with the Office of Emergency Management. And it's our last interview, and I'm hoping to get that done. So I have about 45 minutes to devote to you on this topic, which may not be enough. And so my question to you is, how would you like me to proceed through this memo, given my time constraints? And what would you like to accomplish out of this? And so
I would
you're-
just recommend that we just read it through, because, just
okay,
without, just say let's go through it
okay.
and save comments, unless you really need to say something on each item. Go ahead.
I would just like to sort of preface before we start walking through each of the steps that I attended a strategy planning session with a different group recently, and they posed like 3 open-ended questions
Mm-hmm.
to try to really get the dialogue within the group, and people had the opportunity to review the questions in advance and to come prepared, because I'm a little bit concerned that with this type of structure, which works really well in some situations, with a large board, it might be difficult and there might be some strong voices that that are chiming in a lot more than others.
Yeah.
And I think that if we compose having it be more dialogue based, it would be helpful. And so and I think that the way this is currently laid out can get us into being more performative than really just talking about being strategic.
Okay.
And I don't think we want to do that. I think we got to keep shifting to making sure it's strategic and not staff reporting and not, that's because we get that. We have that information. So that's sort of just my overall concept around it. And I'll just share that I shared with Jean some open-ended type of questions that might work
Mm-hmm.
in this case. That if we wanted to approach it that way, because I think this type of structure is very time consuming. Um, and I think, to Barbara's comment earlier, time is really limited for a lot of people these days.
Good suggestion. The reason that I asked that we walk through this is because I haven't read it. I just got, I just got it, and so I can
Sure.
do that on my own too. But
What about just following, I haven't read it either, I skimmed it.
Sure.
What about following up on Rachel's point is rather than trying to walk through all this with the board,
Mm-hmm.
isn't there a way that you and staff could put together key points?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than us at the board level trying to come up with this, which we'll spend an hour on the first bullet, is we kind of have it like a straw person.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you pull out, as Rachel suggested, what are the key points we want to get to?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a nice kind of outline, but I could see us spending 20 hours
Yeah.
and people leaving.
All valid points. So, Rachel sent me these open-ended questions, and so why don't I pose those to you before you get, the content, just a little bit of history. This has felt really accelerated to me for coming up with strategic planning sessions that start in 2 weeks, for instance. And so my question is that my first question is that reasonable? Is this timing good? And you want to get it done, but you also want maximum participation and as Rachel has suggested, maximum conversation on strategy. And so, Mark had suggested these 2 sessions prior to the next 2 board meetings. And so I broke it into where are we now, what's going well, and then the second is tied to do you want to renew the measure, and if so, what are the components of that, and going forward, what does the future look like? And so that was the initial thinking. As I got into this and talked with Mark briefly, I'm not so sure that the timing makes a lot of sense if you're going to get maximum participation. For instance, Dennis had indicated that he may not be available at the timing that was initially suggested, and I
we
think
need you here.
he's and there are key players that we want to make sure are in the room. The other thing that I want to share with you is just a reminder that you have a number of board members who weren't here at the beginning and don't know the basis for a lot of the decisions that are being made, like the very valid questions you had on the last item, which is how is the funding structured and why is it the way that it is, and are there alternatives to be considered? And just understanding the initial thoughts about structure and at this point, what needs to change, what needs to be different in both strategy and practicality. And so if it's okay with you, I'll just read through Rachel's questions, and you can think about it relative to these topic areas. Her first question is, when you look back on MWPA's work since 2020, what achievements matter the most? And why do they matter to Marin residents and not just to us as an organization? And the intent is to draw out accomplishments, values, return on investment, and public benefit beyond outputs. The second question is, where do you believe MWPA is strongest right now, organizationally, programmatically, or relationally? And what conditions made those strengths possible? And the intent is to identify assets, enabling factors, and replicable success. Hard to get those words out. The third is what tensions, limitations, or frustrations are holding MWPA back from having even greater impact? And the intent is to invite challenges, threats, inefficiencies, governance, or staffing issues without defensiveness. So
Could you read the second one first? I'm trying to take notes.
the second one, yeah, and I can,
Yeah, we can send these out to you. And honestly,
you.
this is not me.
yeah.
This is my friend Chat.
GPT.
And I haven't read the questions over and I shared with Jean really, really tightly to make sure they can be actually,
Sure.
choreographed to be able
great.
to have the conversation. But I think that versus going through the whole SWOT analysis, going through, which might bog us
Right.
down, this raises it up in terms of being able to talk about it strategically. And maybe it's not 4 questions, maybe it's 1.
Yeah. So yeah, and there are lots of choices here. Keep in mind that nothing has been decided yet. So and you as the exec committee are the linchpin on making the decisions about how this is going to go forward. And so and I'm here to take your direction and your suggestions and try and come up with a strategy for it. So we'll be happy to forward this to you. And let me just give you the last question that Rachel's friend Chat came up with based on this outline. And the last question is, if we're being honest with ourselves, where are we reacting instead of leading? And what risks does that pose if it continues? And the intent is to get at the threats, opportunity costs, and the potholes versus new roads dilemma. So those are the 4 questions, and I'm happy to forward those to you.
And I asked Chat, 4 questions for the first session, 4 questions for the second session,
Mhm.
based on the proposed agenda. And so there's 2 different types of questions, based on the day. The first day being more of a sort of a data gathering, here we are, where do we want to go? And then the second day planning has more of a visionary piece.
Mhm.
So the question, I think that's great. I think the question that you raised, Jean, is this really, should we wait? I mean, are we just jamming this through? Dennis
Yeah.
can't be there. Well, I think it's worth discussing. If we just decide to do it on February 19th because
Mhm.
it's here,
Right.
should we refine this better?
Yeah, if I could ask you to turn the page over to the bottom of page 2, the logistics and on the strategic planning sessions. So the initial proposal was that before the next 2 meetings between 1 and 3, and then start the executive committees at 3. And the questions that came up for me, and there may be more, are, is it too soon or is this timely? Are there other dates? Does the 2 parts make a sense, or should it be 1 half-day session, longer or shorter? My preference would be attendance in person by board members. Although if absolutely necessary, could the Zoom alternative be there? And how to encourage maximum participation. How can we make sure? So go ahead.
Sorry, I'm talking so much on that today, but I think for this one, I mean, because it was scheduled so late, we have the board meeting scheduled, we have a short agenda, and maybe at least for February, it would work out that we start the board meeting, do the board meeting at 3, hope, with the anticipation that that's going to end within the hour, and then have 1 or 2 of these questions just to start the dialogue as sort of our ongoing strategic planning. And then maybe the following in March, we have more time to actually plan.
I think that makes sense, is do what we can on February 19th. If it extends beyond March, then we do that. It's worth it, right?
Mhm.
And we just start the conversation Oh, I'm sorry. We just start the conversation and,
Clock start, not.
do the best we can and see how herky-jerky it is, right?
Okay.
Actually,
And I'm sorry, that's not a technical term.
I also have a comment on this.
Two
I'm
of
thinking
us.
through this from my perspective. I want the maximum amount of participation, but what we have here, and it's a riches of all of you having had the experience from the beginning, but we also have board members who have changed over time. We have new board members who don't know and don't have experience. What I'm hoping for is we've all been here, and from our own agency perspectives, we have ideas of what's working and what doesn't. Rachel, I love those questions. I think they're more likely to bring things out. What I want from staff is where we are, what we've done, what kinds of analytics, what is the progress on the things that we've funded that are scientific. I don't mean a large, not a big production, but here's where we are, this is what we've accomplished. But so this is the dynamic. We have very experienced people and we have new people on the board. And that's probably a really good cross-section because they'll have new ideas. How do we bring everybody to the same level, or is it even necessary? Yeah, to maximize discussion, but still do it efficiently. What are your ideas?
So I appreciate that there's new people on it, thank goodness. It's great to bring in new people. But I think I would hate to spend everyone's time to bring everyone back up. I think if we need to do a breakout with new people to share, there's so much available on past board meetings, the recordings, the data that's available on the website. And I think a lot of these questions are really about using your perspective of what you know of MWPA as an elected, but also a resident and a community member. And so, because that's really where we want people to start thinking about as we start that discussion around renewal. And so I would caution of using too much time to have staff being able to present again information that we've had. I think it does become individuals' responsibility to go back and use the data that's available.
Nice question. I thought that we had and this is for you and Mark. I was under understanding that we had an onboarding package for new members. I don't know what it is, but the implication is that they're not properly on board. They know what's going on here. So I question number one, have they been onboarded? Or are they just new and not speaking up? Or have they been adequately on board? I think that's the first question from my perspective.
Right. I think Mark meets with each of the new board members and provides basic information about, how it functions, what the role of the board is, et cetera. It may be that some of the basic, history and accomplishments are not all summarized in the same way. I'm not sure. So we can check in with Mark on that.
So, I mean, I would state that in support that whatever's missing, if we can consolidate, some critical messaging for everyone, I'm a little conflicted combining these two because it is a strategic planning session, and strategic planning is like Rachel's your question: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and we've done this once already, and I think getting questions out early in advance for people to think what's working well, what are weaknesses, what's not working well, what do you see as an opportunity and what are the threats? I mean, in essence, ChatGPT, thank you, but it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that and I asked for this retreat, by the way, a year and a half ago. And I feel that it should really focus on, identify what little changes we need to make, where we need to invest time to improve our performance. It's not a all. I don't know how I'm describing this, but So let me, if we're going to have a what's been accomplished or, historical perspective, again, it should just, the content should be, that which is really critical. And that's what we've missed in our orientation just to not repeat stuff. I like Rachel's approach. I think we should agree on simple session where Jean, you would facilitate and have note taker, and we'll capture and identify the critical, really the critical issues that we have in moving forward and what shifts we need to make to improve our performance. We're 5 years old. We're in middle school right now. I think we're still in elementary school, frankly. And it's going to take 50 years for this authority to be effective. And so we're not going to change the world as a result of this, but it's an opportunity to, let's say it's an opportunity to identify the critical stuff that we need to tend to right now in time for renewal.
I think I just want to add that I think it's kind of good that we have some new members, whether their onboarding was great or not, or complete. They can come at it from what they've been seeing more as a member of the public. So I think that adds to it. And I feel like we could go ahead with that session as per suggestions, a SWOT kind of thing, see where we go. I mean, the other thing is we have this expectation that everybody is as engaged as Bruce is.
And
If I can, a lot of boards and committees, and a lot of people don't read stuff. A lot of people don't come in. So we may get some things that aren't very helpful. But I also say that we have been sitting here a long time and we feel like this is a great agency. Maybe there's no changes that are needed. We might be wrong. We might be absolutely wrong. And there might need to be some significant changes. So I think it's worthwhile to try and see where we are at. But, just kind of get the feel of where things are. And if we need to do 3 sessions, we do 3 sessions.
Dennis?
And I would just suggest, I sit on another board
question.
where we created an onboarding subcommittee to create what that looks like. So that might be something we consider in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Jean, for putting this together. My issue has only been conflict of time. It just was too soon, came too soon in my calendar to accommodate it. That was my issue. So planning a little bit ahead as when this might occur is better for me. But look, I agree with Rachel. I like her approach of using the questions as a way to engage people. But I also think what you proposed in your session 1 and 2, that could be incorporated in like the staff report telling the why we're doing this.
Okay.
And people can read it or not read it, but at least they have the background. And we could cut out having the session about that, just move to the questions. As far as timing, I think connecting it with a board meeting makes sense, but I'm not sure that the best use of everyone's time, given the board meeting could go for whatever length of time we don't know what it would be. So I like strategic sessions where you set aside a specific time, maybe a half day or something to really sit down and work this through.
Okay.
And I'd be open even to like a Saturday morning or something to do this if they felt that was convenient. But I'm just curious that everyone can come at one or enough members can come at one. But I think it's important that everyone engage in this process
Yeah.
because we kind of all have been in this for a long time and engaged and involved, and we may have a blind side that we're not seeing or not hearing. So having everyone engaged is really important in this process. But I like what you put together, and I think it's a great background. Like I say, I think it's the why we're doing this. And that could be maybe the staff report of why we're doing strategic planning at all.
Okay.
And that would shorten the process to get right to the subject matter quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's, are there any other questions or comments? And I can just
No,
reflect.
No, I just want to be respectful of your time. I know you need to
Yeah.
wrap up. So-
It's 11:37.
Okay, that gives me plenty of time then. So yeah, it's that makes a lot of sense to me, Dennis's suggestion about a staff report. And part of this comes from some of the other work that I'm doing for MWP right now on the communications issues. That some of the folks that we've talked to, and we've talked to board members, elected officials, we've talked to a lot of staff at varying levels in the organization, each member organization, trying to figure out how we can best structure communication so that everybody gets advance notice, is involved, has a chance to comment on strategies and campaigns. And it's been very informative. But a couple of issues came up, and one of them was, why are we doing this in the first place, which is a good staff report question. And what was the original intent? And for that, I would go back to Bruce and Dennis and Jason Weber. Why did we structure this as a JPA, and all of the elements of the JPA? And what we found is, were there some questions among the folks that we talked to about how that all occurred? And so maybe the staff report is the best way to do it, but leave it open so if anybody's got particular questions from the staff report that can be discussed in the group sessions. So and then one other suggestion was that the executive committee is talking about the renewal process. And one question is the entire board on board for renewing this measure, or is 10 years enough? And I frankly, my own personal opinion is that you don't have 150 years of untamed growth in Marin County in both population and foliage and fix it in 5 years. But what's the sentiment? Is the public willing to commit to these long-term activities that are incremental in performance? So, and so the question exists, does it make sense to continue this? And generally, I hear yes. However, it's an important question to ask. And what do you, as a couple of you have mentioned, what do your constituents say? What do your residents say? Are they feeling like value is occurring? And how do they know? What are those elements? And so just by way of background, a couple of the things that I've learned from this other process that's going on that may help with this. And then in terms of, I really like Dennis's idea of putting the staff report together, because then we can open it to questions and see what comes out of it, but don't have to spend a lot of time on past history. And then the question is, in terms of strategic planning, how in-depth and foresight do you want to get with that? Which is, there are foresight techniques that can help people structure what they want to get out of the future. And so if that is a focus that you want to have for strategic planning, I can put something different together for that.
I'd like to take something. What do you?
Just really quickly, just to remind you all to speak directly into the mic so that we can capture all of your comments. This is great discussion. I just want to make sure the public can hear you well.
Okay. This is to simple up my thinking. At this point, I thought we were at a juncture where we've had 5 years experience. We know we've got results. I wanted to look at it as, do we need a mid-course correction? Are we on the right path? If we're not on the right path, what things are really working that we can emphasize and what things are not? I think the planning for whether or not we go forward at this point, for the measure, I don't know how to address that, but I definitely like that we get all of the information through the staff report, that we use questions as Rachel posed, that we maybe separate our sessions, the strategic planning session, as a separate, as Dennis recommended, retreat, So it may be open to the public, but it's all done in one place for a half a day.
Yep.
And that way, we don't have to interrupt the thought processes, going from where we were, what do we need, and then, and get so into the weeds. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And I just want other people's comments.
I'd just like to say, yes, I'm in agreement. I think strategic planning should be, this is supposed to be a retreat, and cramming it up next to a meeting is not a retreat. If it's a Saturday, it doesn't matter. As to Rachel's questions, I think that the item 2, session 1, item 2 questions are very close to what I see as a strategic planning session. A, B, C, D, E, and to look at those and put Rachel's questions, thanks Chat GTP, by the way, together and just make sure that we're asking the right questions, clear, concise, compelling, and give people an opportunity to open up. What I don't see here is there should be an item 3, which is next steps. We should have an action plan that comes out of our strategic planning. It is a document. It should only be a few pages, but it should identify. So like Rachel's pointing at something, summarize comments. That's not an action plan. So, but what I'm saying is, and this goes into work plans and programs and process. This is more complicated. What did this first session generate as far as issues that need to be addressed? This needs to be a strategic planning session to identify the delta. We're going like this and this. We should be like this. It should articulate the delta for action. And yeah, anyway, I'm in agreement, Catherine. I'm in agreement, and Dennis, your presence is essential. 2-term vice president, 1-term president. All your background. We need to have you on board and present.
Okay, let me just toss out a proposal for you to think about. For February 19th, what if you take Barbara's suggestion, which is start at 2:00, do the board agenda, and then go into a discussion of the strategic planning process with the board members in attendance. And then from there, we can plan the next steps, whether or not it's at the March meeting for the next continuation, or if the board members are receptive to a half-day offsite, for instance, or excuse me, even board members might consider this location a good one for a half-day offsite since it's not in their facilities. Thank you. So what do you think about that? Is that possible? And Dennis, you're constrained.
Make that work.
So if we started at the board meeting at 2, wrapped up the agenda that you just approved as quickly as possible, and then go into a strategic planning session until hopefully about 5, and get some direction from the entire board on how they'd like to proceed, whether they want to continue to attach to board meetings or they want to set a separate half-day board meeting to address strategic planning issues.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Would that include the staff report and maybe tell the why and get questions on that out of the way?
Wouldn't that be wonderful? I will see what I can do.
Okay. That might be an opportunity to cover that
Sure.
area.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Or
think
at least, give them the framework for it so that, I love the suggestion. I'm not sure implementation is going to be possible, but I will do my best. Okay?
And can I make one more suggestion? My vision of the retreat was not just a board. And here's where I take issue. And so if we're going to put questions together in advance, that Catherine, your direction to the board this year was really valuable. That you suggest that board members talk to their staff, talk to your chief, talk to your veg managers understand what they're doing. But I would like there to be kind of an overall introductory suggestion that enclosed following are, these are the key questions that we'll be addressing at our strategic planning. We suggest that you spend time with your peer, not board members. We shouldn't do that, but that
ATC and
within your organization and key constituents and public to identify, help them answer these questions. Does that make sense?
Sounds good. So do we have consensus that we are going to start the meeting at 2? We're going to go through the brief agenda for the board meeting itself. We'll go into a discussion with the board members present so that allows them to commit to a strategic planning session, hopefully finding dates that will work and time that will work. And so that will be our next steps.
Okay, and Martina, could we ask that you alert the board members as soon as possible, and that this is something that really needs maximum participation. And so
Absolutely.
if we could encourage them to the start at 2:00 and to be prepared to have this discussion effective as quickly as possible, but closing down by 5. Let's target that. So,
Right, but when you get it out, the 2:00 is the regular board meeting.
correct.
And the idea is we would try to move into the start of the strategic plan about 3.
Yeah. That okay?
Yes.
Acknowledged.
Do we have agreement? We have, okay.
Yes.
Now we need public comment on this item. Are there any members of the public who wish to make a comment?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, and seeing that there are none, we're moving to in item number 9, right? Information items. There are no information items on the agenda. So then we move to, do I need to take public comment? Okay. So item 10, committee members' request regarding future agenda items. Do committee members have any requests for future agenda items?
I would suggest that we agendize the Marin Biomass Utilization Committee's report is finalized and out to the public. There are implications for MWPA, and that we agendize an informational session on the 5-year project that's taking a look at what biomass being generated, green waste, everything here in Marin, where it's currently going, where they suggest that it go. It has implications for multiple parties. So I'd like the Marin Biomass Project to be agendized within the month.
Okay, does it require a consensus of everybody in order to put it on? Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, it's been fun. Only
Okay,
5
but we
weeks.
got to limit it in time because biomass.
Let's not do it on February. I just have one item. I think it's not critical that it happen right away, but I think we ought to consider discussing an onboarding subcommittee to develop something for new board members, because we're going to continue to see that. So take a look at what we have and what would be, so just future.
Okay, that's a suggestion, although I have to tell you that I was the onboarding buddy for the Mill Valley person. So in the past, a board member would be the onboarding buddy for someone who came from their jurisdiction. Is that still the case? Okay, right. But it's important. Yep. Okay, are there any other general questions or comments? If not, we're adjourned. We're adjourned at 11:52 Apple time. Thank you. Thank you.